Okay. No.
Yeah, it's on.
All right. So we are here. Jassem and Zev. Salam alaikum, Jassem.
Alaikum salam, shalom, how are you?
Good. Always a pleasure to speak to my friend. And we are here to discuss many things, and this is our trial run. Uh, but many things in the areas of Islam, Judaism, Zionism, uh, conflict, and
Yeah,
all in a respectful manner, and knowing that we might not always agree on things, even though we're friends. And the reason we have chosen to name our little project here Ihud, which is a word in Hebrew, is that basically that means unification, and it also sounds like what in
Tawheed.
like Tawheed, and
Yeah,
our intention is to really become unified, not necessarily in the way we think, but more
yeah,
just as people to become
yeah,
more
definitely.
connected, right? Because there's much more that connects us than divides us. So, what are we going to be doing?
So we start. This is like a trial, so we see how it goes, and also the reaction of our friends and families around. So today we'll be inshallah talking about, because Ramadan is probably in 2 days, so we will be talking about fasting in Judaism and in Islam. So inshallah, you start telling me what you know about your side of the story. Then I will be taking notes because for me everything is new. I know nothing about fasting in Judaism, zero. So you'll be teaching me.
Okay, well, it's not going to be very fast, even though we're talking about fasting. But so yeah, we'll do that, and then I will ask you, or you'll talk about fasting in Islam, and we can then ask questions and compare notes.
Yeah, and also this could be like a very informal talk. It's not like a lecture on fasting. It's
Right.
just because neither you or me are interested in the details, unless So we would just like to give input and for our listeners to follow up with more questions or more suggestions. Like even if we make a mistake saying something, we want to be corrected.
Absolutely, absolutely. One of the best things that I can do in learning from others is also being corrected about the things that I don't necessarily know perfectly about my culture. And even though I grew up in a religious family and I went to religious schools and I know a lot, I'm sure there's plenty that I can still learn about Judaism, in addition, of course, to Islam and other religions. So who's going first?
You go first, please.
Okay, so Judaism has, there are 6 main fasts throughout the year that I would say most people, at least in Israel, or many people in Israel have heard of. I wouldn't say most, but many people in Israel have heard of. Um, Throughout Judaism, 2 of them are probably the most well known. And there are many other forms of fasting that one can do, which is discussed in Jewish law, and they're less popular, and they're absolutely, I would say, not known at all to probably many Jews throughout the world, and they're not broadly practiced. But the main the main fast of the year, obviously, I'm sure you know, is Yom Kippur, right? The Day of Atonement, and um, the fasting on Yom Kippur is done not necessarily from a place of sadness. It's done for cleansing the soul, because Yom Kippur is the holiest day of the year, the day in which uh, people are able to atone for their sins and request forgiveness. And it's actually considered a holiday. It's not considered a sad day. But the fasting on Yom Kippur is done in order to be in a, I guess, at a higher spiritual level, where you can focus on things relating to your soul more than your body. And so, that's one of the main reasons for Yom Kippur. There are a few main things that you're not allowed to do in connection with the fast. First of all, Yom Kippur and one other fast throughout the year that I'll tell you about in a second are the only 2 days, the 2 fast days in which it's a 24 or more like a 25-hour fast from sundown to sundown, right? Because in Judaism, just like Islam, the day begins the night before.
Yep.
And so on Yom Kippur, the fast is from sundown to sundown. And then basically, there are certain things that you're not allowed to do. It's eating, drinking, wearing leather shoes and similar items, washing, bathing. Obviously, for prayers, you're allowed to slightly wash your hands. Obviously, things that relate to intercourse or things like that are obviously completely banned on the day of the fast. Using things like that make you feel good, make your body feel good, like creams and oils and things like that are the people who are very strict about it will not do either. So it's disconnecting from all the pleasures of the flesh and focusing on a higher spiritual connection with God and being able to be in that place of atonement. The second largest fast, and this is not necessarily in the order of the calendar, but Yom Kippur is done right in the first. It's done on the 10th day of the year in the first month of the Jewish calendar. The next fast that I'll mention to you is Tisha B'Av, the 9th day of Av, which is almost at the end of the Jewish calendar, and that is a day that marks the destruction of both temples, the first and second temple. And again, that's another fast with pretty much the same restrictions as Yom Kippur in terms of the physical pleasures, but it marks a completely different thing. It's a sad day. Prayers are done. People sit lower to the ground, and it's a real 25-hour fast.
Which day is that? Because you said Yom Kippur. What is the second one?
It's
How
called
do you call it?
Tisha B'Av, like Tisha, like Tis'a in Arabic. The 9th day of Av. Av is the
Tis'a Av. Okay.
Yeah, Tisha B'Av. Yeah, and now the other few what I'll call smaller fasts on the Jewish calendar are the 10th day of Tevet, Asara b'Tevet, Asara like Ashara, right? The 10th day of Tevet. It's the 4th month of the 10th day of the 4th month of the Jewish calendar, and that marks the beginning of the siege of Jerusalem by the Babylonians, also the time of the first temple. And this and the other smaller fasts that I'll mention in a minute are really sun up to sundown fasts. So it's not 25 hours of fasting, but there are people, religious people take these fasts, especially the ones related to Jerusalem and the destruction of the temple, very, very seriously. People do go to work as opposed to Yom Kippur, and lots of people won't work on Tisha B'Av either. But so the Asara B'Tevet is the third one. Yud Zayin B'Tammuz. Yud Zayin is basically in Hebrew letters, it's 17. So it's the 7th day of Tammuz. That's the 10th month of the Jewish calendar. So it's the 17th day of the 10th month of the Jewish calendar. And that marks the day that the Romans conquered Jerusalem, I believe. And it's also a sad day. It's it's just before the destruction of the second temple. And it's a similar fast to Asara B'Tevet. What else am I missing? Let me see my notes here. There's, what did I say? Yeah, okay. So, oh, yes. There's a fast, which is a day after, Rosh Hashanah. The first, Rosh Hashanah is the Jewish New Year, right? It's 2 days long at the beginning of the year, and then the day right after that is a fast day, and basically that is the Hebrew date on which a man by the name of Gedaliah ben Achikam, Gedaliah son of Achikam, he was murdered, and he was like the last Jewish. He wasn't a monarch, but he was the representative of the monarchy that controlled Israel. He was the Jewish representative of monarchy in Israel, and he was assassinated on that day. And so people fast on that day to mark the end of any Jewish rule in Israel until, for many years, until people started coming back to the land of Israel. And finally, the last of the 6, I guess, best well-known fasts is the fast of Esther. So it's done the day before Purim is our, it's like the Jewish Halloween. And it basically, the holiday of Purim marks, during the time that the Jews were, they were in exile already. They lived, in what is now, I guess, modern day Persia. And modern day, now it's modern day Iran, but it was Persia at the time. And they, somebody a man by the name of Haman, he wanted to exterminate all the Jews, and he convinced the king to exterminate all the Jews in all his kingdoms. And the queen, she was Jewish, Esther, and you weren't allowed to go to the king without being called. But she went to the king. I mean, after she consulted with her uncle who was taking care of her, and she went to the king without being summoned. And so before she did that, she fasted for 3 days. And some people say there are other fasts that were related in that time. And she fasted, and she was granted access to the king, and she was able to go and request that he reverse his verdict, and thereby saving the Jewish people. So people do that fast also. Again, it's a small fast, 12, sun up to sundown. And I'll just say another word, because I know I have to switch over to you, but there are other fasts, many other types of fasts that people can do. If a personal fast, if you've sinned, or there are even fasts if the Torah scroll falls on the floor. There are people say that you have to fast. There are fasts where people, if it hasn't rained, if there's a drought, then rabbis can declare a fast, and for all different types of reasons. But those are very uncommon. Some people take on a fast where it's not a fast from eating, but more a fast from speaking. It's called like a speaking fast, and where they focus more on studying, on speaking only about holy things like learning Torah and things like that, and they focus less on speaking about mundane and day-to-day things like that. But there you can get into that, but that's a whole. These are very, very. There's a lot of detail on these, and we don't have time to get into those.
Inshallah, if needed, we can do another, extension for more time, because I find it really interesting. Before we start, we agreed that we will be talking separately about respective fasts. Then after that, the questions. But what you say so far is so interesting that I have so many questions. If you allow me, I would like to start asking questions to you first. Then after that, I go and speak about it. So first question came to my mind, relate to verse number, chapter number 2, Al-Baqarah, verse number 183 in the Quran. It says that the fasting was decreed upon us Muslims as it was decreed upon people before us. So when the Quran says the Ladina min qablikum, says those before you, that means Jews and Christians. I want to ask, in all the fasts you've been talking about, they are related to events. It's like you are fasting to commemorate an event. So
Mhm.
I assume that those those traditions were decreed by people, not by the Torah, not by God, not
That's
were
a
decreed by scholars. Yeah.
great
So
question.
I wanted to
Yeah.
ask, are there any fasts that they were decreed by the Torah or by the prophets themselves? And if there are, which ones?
So Yom Kippur, actually, the holiest day is actually decreed by the Torah,
Yeah,
and it talks about it in a few places.
yeah.
But that is really the only one that is decreed by the Torah. There are a few of the ones that I mentioned that are mentioned a little later on in the Bible,
Mm.
later on by one of the prophets, at least one of the prophets, but they are not. They are mentioned as events that happen, and
Mhm.
so the decree itself doesn't show up in
Okay,
the,
so
as far as I
so
know.
so the second question would be, if that's the case, is there anything in the Judaism that tells you, like, you people of the Torah of the Moses, alayhi salam, you commemorate things doing these things? Because in Islam we have, I will tell you when I talk about the fasting, I'll tell you what we do. So I was just asking to look for similarities. So is there anything in your teaching that tells you that whenever something major happens, you fast to thank God, to seek forgiveness or something like that?
Um, I would have to check that. Again, I
So
would
yeah.
love to get comments from anybody who sees this. Um, um, as far as I remember, the only place where it says in the Torah about fasting for a certain event
Mm.
is is about Yom Kippur.
Okay, thank you. So the other questions, beginning the siege. Okay, I think that's the most important thing. In the fast, you say abstaining from like bathing, from using perfumes, from things like that. Is this something like uniform to all days of fast, or just like in some specific days?
Well, the main those main decrees are actually relate to Yom Kippur, and they're taken and used also for the ninth day of Av, which is the day of the destruction of the temple. When I was growing up, I don't remember um, them discussing all of those decrees about the other fast days. So I mean, as far as I recall, and again, if there are any rabbis out there who are there and say that I'm completely getting this wrong, I apologize.
No, it's okay.
It's been a few
There's
years since I
nothing.
studied, but as far as I recall, like you can use, you can wash your hands with soap, like do a full wash of your hands and things like that on the other fast days, as far as I
Yeah.
recall. And
Okay.
you can, oh
Thank
yeah,
you.
and you can wear leather shoes and things like that. Like you know,
Yeah.
those
Thank
are
you.
permitted.
So now, thank you so much. I will now talk about our side of the story. Uh, as I said, the fasting started from a clear verse in the Quran, which is like verse chapter number 2183. Fasting is believed to be one of the main pillars of Islam. I mean, if a Muslim who doesn't fast Ramadan is a sinner, if a Muslim who believes that Ramadan is not compulsory is committing an act of heresy. It's just like you are like you are just talking about another something else which is not Islam. So you may skip fasting because you are tempted, or you don't care, or I mean you don't want to, but you might not be allowed to say, okay, this is not compulsory. This is a different topic. So we fast Ramadan, but this is not the only fasting we have. So let me talk about Ramadan. Ramadan is specific in the calendar. Uh, it's a month called Ramadan. There are times it comes to 29 days or 30 days. We follow the moon to decide which day starts.
Mhm.
The month of Ramadan, the fasting consists in abstaining from food, water, cigarettes, uh, sexual interaction. Those are the compulsory things. You can't eat anything, you can't drink anything, and you cannot have any intimacy with your partner. Uh, those things would invalidate the fast. Other things that we try to avoid, we are deeply recommended to avoid, is to engage in in swearing, in conversation, normally things that you wouldn't be doing in normal days anyway. But because of the month of Ramadan, so it's like you are trying to go into that status of spirituality. It's like a learning curve. I mean, you start the first day of Ramadan, you try by the end of Ramadan, you try to change behavior. So you avoid arguments. You see a lot of people, they don't use social media. There's no specific requirement for that, but people, they try to enjoy the experience and to spend the day in proximity with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the Maghrib, you can break the fast. In sunset, you can break the fast. And after prayer, after the Isha prayer, we have Tawih prayers, which is not all Muslims, they celebrate it, but the majority of them, they do, which is we try to finish the Quran during the month of Ramadan. The Quran is divided in 60 hizb, 60 not chapters. Hizb is a block of chapters. They are nearly equaling the number of the words. So you got 60 hizb. So every day we try to recite the 2 hizb. So by the end of the Ramadan, we complete the recitation of the Quran in Tawih prayer. So this is Ramadan. It's very important, and it is like one of the pillars of Islam. If you don't fast, you have to make it up. If you don't fast willingly, the fine is too heavy because you have to fast 2 months for each day that you skip.
Wow.
Or you have to feed 60 poor person to seek forgiveness. It's kafara is yam. Or you have to free slave, which is not available in these days. No one owns slaves, but that was one of there are 3 things. You have either to fast 2 months or to feed 60 poor person, or you have to free 1 slave. This is like for if you do it willingly. If you are sick, if you can't make it, like the doctor says, you don't have to fast, and you don't have to fast. You can make it up if you feel well later on. But if your status, if your health condition doesn't allow you to fast, you don't have to make it up. Pregnant women, they don't they fast if they can, but they have some rukhsa, they have the license to fast as well. Also, women during the period, they don't fast, and they have to make it up in after Ramadan. And that's it. If you forget, like if you eat by mistake, it happened to me like when I was a kid. If you drink water by mistake, you carry on. It doesn't not invalidate the fast. You just continue. There are other forms of fast, which is right after Ramadan. All the other fasts I'm going to talk about now, they are not obligatory, they are not compulsory, but they are highly recommended. You got 6 days of Shawwal, which is the month after Ramadan. You have to be really, really devoted to those 6 days after you did like 1 month. So those are 6 of Shawwal. And we have a Sunnah, like tradition of fasting Monday and Thursday.
Oh, let's talk about that afterwards. Okay, good.
Yeah, we have Monday and Thursday of every week. Then we have the 15th of Sha'ban, the month before Ramadan, the 15th of it. We have Yom Ashura. This is very important because Yom Ashura, I think Jews, they fast Yom Ashura, at least in the time of the Prophet, those of Medina, they used to fast Yom Ashura. So we were recommended to because in our worship, we have to do different from you. We have to differentiate ourselves from the Jews and Christians. It's not like we hate them, just like we have to do things in different way. So to do things in different ways, so we fast Ashura and the day after or the day before. So we instead of fasting Ashura only, it's the same day that Hussein alayhi salam was killed. It's celebrated in Iran with all these marches and stuff. You see, so you can recognize Yom Ashura easily. It's always on the news. So we fast the day before and the day itself. Or if you fast the day the Ashura the day after. It's not recommended to fast Friday, if I'm not wrong. Anyone can correct me if I make a mistake. It's not recommended. And if you fast Friday, you have to fast the day before or to fast the day after. And we have the fasting for swearing. If you promise to say something, to do something, you don't do it. It's like, it's like between me and my mother, she say, no, you will have to do it. Uqsim billah, you will have to do it. And if she says, no, I'm not going to do it, she says you have to fast 3 days. It's like if you swear to do something, you don't do it, you don't keep your promise, you have to fast 3 days. What else? You fast, like if you have an exam the day before, this is something that you do, between you and Allah. It's not obligatory. Just like you just make it up. You just like it's like extra. You do it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Or some people they fast before they get married, or before they have exams or something like that. Yeah, just like an act of worship. Then we had like wise people, like the scholars towards our history. They're just like a big fasting people. Like they fast continuously. There is something interesting to add here, that it is not recommended to carry on fasting, because the Prophet ﷺ, someone came to him and someone says, I fast, I never break my fast. He says, no, you have to break your fast, and you can't keep fasting every day. You need to have a life as well, basically. So yeah, that's it. Any question?
Yeah, very interesting.
If I forgot,
yeah, go ahead.
If I forget something, we will have I think we will put this in YouTube, so we'll have the comments if someone.
Absolutely. We're always happy to take comments. I found. Well, first I'll ask my question. So you said someone who doesn't fast for Ramadan, right, has to either fast for 2 months or feed 60 people or free a slave, right?
Yeah.
Now, you said a little before that the Quran, right? Every day you read I'm sorry, remind me the name. So
Hizb.
So you said there are 60 hizb in the Quran, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that having to feed 60 people for not fasting on Ramadan correlates to the 60 hizb in the Quran?
No, it doesn't, because that 60 people is for each day you eat in Ramadan. Yeah. So imagine, I mean, if you don't fast the whole month, it's really. I mean, this death never goes away. Even after that, you have. I mean, your offspring, they have to make it up. Either they divide it between them, or they hire someone to do it. I mean, people, they just like do all sorts of things. It's just like the prayer. It's just like the salah, the 5 day salah. When you miss, it's always on you. You always seek forgiveness. You try to not miss salah, because once you miss it, you have to make it up.
Right. That's very interesting. So not fasting Friday, I assume it's because of Juma.
Yeah. Right? Unless and Eid day as well. Eid, we don't fast Eid day.
Jews too. Yeah. You can't. Yeah. And on also the beginning of the Jewish month, the first day of the Jewish month on the Jewish calendar, or sometimes it's like the last day of the previous month and the first day of the next month. Those are happy days, and there are other happy days like Eids and holidays and things like that, where you're not allowed to fast. And also obviously on Shabbat, on the Sabbath. I think there's, as much as we say that our religions try and be different, or they try to act differently. There's so many things that you mentioned that I forgot to mention about fasting in Judaism, which actually are relevant there as well. For example, for sick people or people who have certain conditions, then either they have sometimes they're allowed to take their medication if they're on medication. I mean, almost always you're allowed to take medication. Obviously, if they are pregnant women, don't need a fast. There are many different conditions under which you're not required to fast, especially the fasts that are the smaller fasts, I would say. And I would say also that, even within religious families or different religious congregations, there are, I would say, probably most religious people fast fully the 25-hour fasts. And then there are variations on, who fasts which of the smaller fasts in Judaism. You mentioned fasting on Monday and Thursday. In Judaism, Monday and Thursdays are the days other than Shabbat in which they read part of the Torah. So in synagogue, in morning prayers, on Mondays and Thursdays, they take out the Torah and they read a very small part of what's going to be read on Shabbat, the next Shabbat. So on those days also, those were days where people used to fast. Um, it's just those were considered specific days where it was good to fast.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
there must be something correlated to Judaism, but I don't know why. I can't remember why the Prophet ﷺ did it. Is it the day the deeds goes to Allah or something? I don't want to make a mistake, but people who are listening, they can look it up. Yeah, there is always a reason. There's always an explanation. And if you go and dig for it, you find that it is related to something to people of the book practice. Yeah.
Yeah. So you mentioned that Saum, right? Fasting is one of
Mm,
the five pillars.
yeah.
Are there any of the pillars that are considered more important than the others?
No, no, they are not. The five pillars, they are all important, and each pillar have its own uh, uh, like importance within the five. For example, the Hajj is very important. It forgives all the sin and has to be carried, like it has to be performed at least once in lifetime. But if you can't do it, you are forgiven. I mean, look. This is really beautiful because it's so important thing. Right? It is just as if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala anticipated there will be days like pandemic, like some people they died this year, they couldn't go, or there was time when Saudi Arabia was not safe country like today. Like it was like in the time of my great grandfather, going to Hajj was like a lifetime journey. You might not go back. The people before they go, some of them they even divorce. There's like okay, they because they're not sure they're gonna come back. It was so difficult, so dangerous.
Wow.
So the Hajj, it was a long journey. Imagine going from Morocco by foot to Saudi Arabia, and like, and by the time you get there, you finish the money, and you have to stay there and work to earn, something to come back. So it was
Yeah.
really, really impossible. So the Hajj you can be exempt if you are prevented from. The Salat, you can be exempted if you are prevented from, and Som as well. In the compensation, it's like كل عمل ابن آدم له إلا الصوم فهو لي وأنا أجزي به. It's like all the deeds of the son of Adam belong to him, except for the fasting. It is for me. This is what Allah said. He said this is something for me, and the reward for it, I only decide what it will be. It's like it is that important that it's not even, it is something between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because when you fast, when you go to pray, people they see you in the mosque. When you go to Hajj, people they see you going to Hajj, and when you make Shahada, everyone knows because people they know you are Muslim, so obviously you make Shahada. But when you fast, no one sees you. You have like 8, 10, 20 hours a day. It's only between you and Allah because you might be pretend to be fasting, but when you go in your room, eat, no one gonna see you. So that's why he said this is something extreme that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala likes so much, and it's only between you and God.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the same in Judaism, especially when they talk about. I mean, it's, at least with respect to Yom Kippur, which there are certain commandments in the Bible where in the Torah where if you don't comply, then there it says the punishment for them is death. But some where actually you can see somebody murdered somebody else or somebody and there's a witness, right? So people actually saw that happen. Like you said, in turn on Yom Kippur, nobody really knows if you're going behind the scenes and taking a bite out of your falafel. So
Yeah.
so it's very similar. They said God watches those events, and it's between you and God, those things.
I think the rituals, like we're talking about the Siyam, fasting, and the Jum'ah and Hajj, those are things that kept Islam ongoing. I think that's the case for Judaism as well. I mean, the community, someone living in America or South Africa, with these rituals, you keep your faith alive. Even here in London, when it is Ramadan, it's just like everything changed. It's like the whole street, it's like it becomes Saudi Arabia overnight. It's like even the shop stays open and people, the way they dress changes, and it's just like, oh, we are a Muslim. All of a sudden it reminds you who you are, and it's beautiful. It helps keeping the faith, and I mean, now we have our kids and ourselves who are exposed to all kinds of knowledge the whole day. Like you have Twitter, you have TV, you have Facebook, and you can learn a lot of things. But to learn your religion, you need these small things, these small practices.
So I have a question. There are certain instances in Judaism, or in general, um, the Torah says also, once God gave all the commandments and all the requirements that you had to do, these are them. Don't add and don't subtract anything from what I've told you to do. And it also has to do with respect to certain holidays and certain days where you're restricted from doing things. So is it the case in Islam where you're told to fast from the morning, from sun up to sundown, and then don't fast anymore, go eat, or fast for the month and don't fast, that's the month of Ramadan. If you do extra, like if I decide, okay, it's sundown now, but I'm not eating, I'm going to do like I'm going to fast, tomorrow night I'll eat. Is that okay?
In the fast, you have one of the things, you have the intention. You may do it Saturday. You say, okay, tomorrow I will fast. It's just because I want to. Yeah, it's fine. You can do it. It is an act of worship. It's just like praying extra to rak'ah. If you go to the mosque, you see some people, they keep praying. It's not like one of the five prayers. It's just like they do it extra. Or someone make a mistake, like swear, or like upset the mother or the father, and you go and pray 2 rak'ah to seek forgiveness or something like that. Also, siyam, fasting is like that. You may do it tatawwu. This is, it's like tatawwu is voluntary fasting. So you can do it anytime, as long as you don't fast the prohibited days, and as long as it doesn't affect your compulsory fast. It's not like you fast the whole year, then you get sick and you don't fast Ramadan, so you have to stop doing it.
So say I was fasting, I had a voluntary fast.
Yeah.
I decided to fast 2 days before Ramadan.
Yes.
Do I have to take a break from my voluntary fasting in order to enter the compulsory fasting?
Yes, definitely. And this is a good question as well, because sometimes you are fasting and you don't know when Ramadan starts. Basically, it's like the day before Ramadan, you are waiting. So it is wise not to fast the last 2-3 days before Ramadan. Don't chance it, because if you hear it is Ramadan, by the way, if you are fasting and you hear tomorrow is Ramadan, you must break the fast, because the day before Ramadan you shouldn't be continually fasting between Ramadan and non-Ramadan. Also, if you are fasting like they said, if you are fasting like voluntarily fast, siyam tatawwu, and you have a guest coming to your house, it is very, I'm not sure if this is like a sunnah or something, but obviously you have to eat. You have to break your fast. You can't have someone at home and you're fasting. It's very impolite. I'm not sure if it is recommended. I'm not sure. It's like I don't start giving fatwa here on live. I'm just like saying this is something I know, that if someone came to your house and you're fasting, it is recommended that you break a fast and you eat with them rather than keeping the fast. Or you tell them like, oh, don't come today, I'm fasting, or something like that. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Or you can, yes, I'm not sure there's even some stories, someone was pretending to be eating just to please them. But these are extreme Sufi stories, let's not get there.
Yeah, but that's another thing that's similar. The importance of making your guests feel welcome and comfortable. And that all comes from Abraham, right?
Yeah.
There's a very very distinct similarity in Judaism and Islam in terms of inviting in guests and making them feel welcome.
Well, in theory, there shouldn't be even a difference in the essence of Judaism and Islam, because at least from our point of view, because we came last, so we don't expect you guys to believe what we believe, but this is for us. We are expected to believe that Judaism is the truth. Now there's a debate about what the truth means, but obviously let's agree it is the truth, then we can define it later. You can't just like nullify everything just because we want to.
Yeah.
So for us to believe that it is compulsory, like the Judaism come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Jewish people, the wise ones, the ones who doesn't kill us, the one who doesn't fight against us, the one who doesn't, there's like the wise Jews, they are Jews that like, just like even like the Muslim wise as well, it's like the Muslims who are also, who doesn't kill each other, who doesn't rob, who doesn't steal. So those are the sons of the sons of Ibrahim, the followers of Ibrahim alayhi salam.
Yes, well, that absolutely makes sense. And one other thing I wanted to say, you mentioned before about people who fast on their wedding day.
Mm.
Very similar in Judaism. I mean, nowadays probably most of the Jews around the world don't, or at least the ones who are not Orthodox, don't know of that custom. But since I grew up in an Orthodox family, I know that custom, and I actually fasted the day of my wedding until after the wedding ceremony. Yes, so it's considered like for the bride and groom, it's considered like a small Yom Kippur for them. By the way, there's something called the small Yom Kippur, also, which is also a fast. I don't think we have time to get into it, and I don't know enough about it. But it's also I don't remember if it's a makeup day for Yom Kippur, but we can look into that. And if people have comments about the small Yom Kippur,
we have the day of Arafah, the day of the when the Hajj, when the pilgrims, this is the biggest day of Hajj, when they stand of the month of Arafah. That day we fast all over the world. Muslims, they fast, but the Hujjaj, the pilgrims who are there, they don't fast. We fast the day. If you are in Hajj, you don't fast it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. 1 second. Can you still hear me? Because my Oh, hold on. I need to change I think these are dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can hear me now, right? Okay.
Yeah. So it was a good conversation.
Very.
And I really enjoy it. So inshallah, I hope there will be like more brothers and sisters joining us with the questions and with the debate and with the knowledge, because I'm sure we said a lot of wrong things. I apologize if I say anything wrong that I don't know.
Me too.
I didn't mean to mislead, but it was nice to talk. And inshallah, I think this introduction was soft. I'm really keen to talk about things that divide us, like politics and all the history. We will talk about everything, inshallah.
Yeah, because we have the groundwork, right, of friendship, and mutual respect, and the intention to discuss, not to attack, right?
Definitely. Yeah.
This is what we want everybody to do when they're hopefully this becomes open to many more people.
See, now it is time to talk, because Jewish people, they're already barricaded and they are safe, alhamdulillah, in their homeland, so you don't fear nothing, and we are in our land. So now it's time to talk. If we don't talk now, there will be no time to talk later. We don't have to wait for problems to happen, we don't have to wait to start some idiots start shooting to each other. We need to start talking now. So God forbid, by the time something bad happens, we already know each other. I think we have been talking enough before. We have to start at some point.
That is for sure. Sure. So before we finish, I want to wish you, my friend, Ramadan Kareem.
Thank you so much.
And we will be doing this again soon, hopefully.
Inshallah. Thank you so much.
And inshallah, it will be an open forum with more people. And hopefully we get comments on this too, comments, questions, and support as well.
Yes. And teaching as well. We need to have like scholars from both sides coming and telling us, because they should be doing this, not us. We should be, me and you, we should be sitting and listening, but they don't talk. So we start talking. So inshallah, maybe we inspire them.
That's true. I agree. So this will post on our YouTube channel and on our respective Twitter accounts, and I hope to see you again soon, my friend.
Okay, inshallah. Thank you. Look after yourself. Assalamu alaikum.
Ma salam.